Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lee Jones. I am the creative director for Rolling Social Events. So we are a Leeds-based company. You may have been to some of our events before if you've been to Rumfest or the Gin Fair at the Coin Exchange, or more recently, you might have seen us do our little online tastings called Sip-alongs. If you don't know any about this, you can find it all out on our website, rollingsocialevents.com. So get on there. We've got loads of events coming up. I'll chat a little bit more about those at the end. But tonight, however, we're going to be focusing on something a little different, something we've not actually done before. Ahead of the venues opening next week, and also coincidentally to celebrate World Cocktail Day, love it when a plan comes together, we wanted to take the time to look at some of our favourite indie haunts in Leeds, and more importantly, the tasty libations that they're known for. Now, some of you have gone ahead and purchased the cocktails that I'm going to talk about, so thank you very much. Please feel free to sample them as we go along. These are all full-strength cocktails, so there's no need to consume them all tonight. Those pouches are resealable, so feel free to just have a little sip of each one, or just try a half measure and then enjoy the rest over the weekend. It's not a competition. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But yeah, hope you enjoy the chat. We're going to talk about 4 different bars that are quite honestly favorites of mine, and they're kind of signature cocktails, things that have made them that their guests love. And the first up, we're going to talk about one of my favorites, which is Roland's on Call Lane, which was established in 2014, opened by Paolo and John, and it's pretty much my favorite after work venue. It's perfect for just chilled glass of white wine or hearty pint of Guinness, but more importantly, it's also very good for their incredibly invigorating Espresso Martini. So I think everybody knows the Espresso Martini now. It's just one of those drinks that is on every menu. It's definitely what you would consider a modern classic. It was created way back in the 80s, which seems like a very long time ago now, but it was created by a bartender called Dick Bradsell, who pioneered quite a lot of modern classics. Other ones you might have heard of are things like the Bramble or Russian Spring Punch. And this was during a time where cocktails weren't really known for their quality. A lot of them were very blue and very sweet. Nothing against blue drinks, but yeah, tone down on the sugar a little bit. Now, the Espresso Martini at Roland's, like all great drinks, the devil is in the details. And they use their own crafted liqueurs and spirits. This has allowed them to really make the drink their own. So once lockdown hit and all the bars closed, Roland's ramped up their production of all their own in-house spirits and their take-home cocktail range. And this, what had started off as maybe an idea about doing some of their own spirits a couple of years back, had suddenly become fast-tracked when they realized they needed something else to focus on. So in their Espresso Martini, the vodka they've used has a wheat base, which is redistilled in their copper still, which I mentioned the wheat is because that's a creaminess to the vodka. It adds a lot of character, adds a creamy texture, perfect for a drink such as this. Because with really good vodka, you're looking for a good mouthfeel, great texture, and that's what this delivers. And then they also have their own coffee liqueur with it as well. So they use that vodka as a base for the coffee liqueur, and they blend it with a 16-hour cold brew. So they make it overnight, and they use coffee beans from local roasters, North Star. So you've got like their own vodka, their own coffee liqueur. What a drink like an Espresso Martini really needs, though, is a lot of body. And they kind of capitalize on this by using a stout syrup, which is basically Guinness and sugar blended together, reduced down. And then all of this is combined with another cold brew coffee, same as what's used in the liqueur, and then they bottle it. So they've got these sexy little bottles, this range here. As you can see, some of it's gone, but they've got a whole range of different drinks now. I've been really successful with them going out to people at home, and they're all kind of ready to go. You just need to shake them with ice. So guys, if you are drinking along with me, this will be the first drink, which is the Espresso Martini. This is the only one of the 4 that will need some dilution. So we're going to need to shake it with ice. So I'm now going to introduce you to the world's smallest bar setup, which is just here. You're welcome. Isn't it great? It basically means I don't have to stand up. So I'm all about it. Okay, so the great thing about this is, like I said, all their cocktails are kind of bottled and good to go. So I'm just going to literally pop it all in. Shaker here. If you don't have a cocktail shaker, you don't need one. Just get something with a lid. Jam jar, Tupperware, bathtub, whatever it might be, you know. So shaker, get some ice. I'm using my hands because it's for me. Just for someone else, use a scoop or something. Give it a good old shake. Remember, it's you want it to look like those espresso martinis on Instagram, so you want that really thick foam. And in theory, this should be all done. Get yourself a sexy glass, something with a stem, a martini glass. Put in a wine glass if you don't have that. Put it over the rocks if you want. Yeah, there we go. Just let it sell. There we go. If you've got some coffee beans, you can put those on as well. But yeah, so they've been doing these kind of bottle cocktails since lockdown started. And everyone's kind of crying out for the Espresso Martini, really. I think that's about ready to go. Cheers, guys. It's a good one to start the evening with. Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's like a dessert, really. Espresso Martini is supposed to be an indulgent thing. It's like having Black Forest Gatto or anything like that. We're not watching the calories with this one, so it's supposed to be a little naughty, but it's really rich, really sweet. It's got great body and texture to it as well. Just gonna double check. Fantastic drink. So yeah, Roland's. Check out their home cocktails if you haven't already. We'll get down there next week when they reopen and drink some Guinness, drink some wine, and try out their new cocktail menu as well, which we're working on when I popped in there the other day. So there's going to be some new exciting drinks as well. But yeah, definitely Roland's is first on the list. I think I subconsciously put it there as well because it's kind of a place I tend to go during the daytime. But we're going to move on now onto the second bar of the bar crawl, which is Smokestack on Lower Briggate. So full disclosure, I used to work there, so I got a bit of a lot of fond memories of that place. So Smokestack's owned by Syord. It's part of the Sandinista group, so same people that have got Blind Tiger and Sandinista in Manchester, and the newly returning Sandinista in Leeds, which I never thought I'd see again. But yeah, that's coming back. Smokestack is always focused on 2 elements, cocktails and music. Both of them inspired by this cultural melting pot of New Orleans. It really is, I've always thought of it as a venue with like 2 faces. You've got the getting cozy, kind of early evening, sipping on some great drinks downstairs in the lounge, listening to some blues. Or you've got the upstairs in what they call the Roost, which is where the dance floor is. Grabbing a bottle of beer, just dancing to some funk and soul music. They've always focused on that kind of dichotomy of different styles. But I think the talent there has always been speed of service, and popping out cocktails at a high rate, because you know what it's like if it's, well, when it used to be three deep at the bar, if you could cash your mind back, and all you want is a bottle of beer, and the guy next to you has ordered like 5 different cocktails, and it just seems to take forever. You know, it is a skill to be able to get those drinks out with speed. And their biggest selling drink is the Hurricane, their biggest signature cocktail. So just a bombastic rum punch, and every time you see one get ordered, there's this domino effect down the bar of people kind of watching it go past or being made, and get excited about it and seeing this flaming rum punch go past. Because, I mean, if you want to sell a drink, definitely set it on fire. You will not be disappointed. And the original cocktail, the Hurricane, is from New Orleans. And it was created at a place called Pat O'Brien's. I wouldn't recommend going there to drink one now. It kind of just tastes like sweetened red battery acid. It kind of comes out like a powder now. It's not great, but the original Hurricane, I'm sure, was super tasty. So the reason it came about was it was actually used. Pat actually had to use up an excess stock of rum. So this was due to, you just had Prohibition. So this is in like the 40s, and then World War II hit. So during Prohibition, all the distilleries were shut down, all the whiskey distilleries. And then in World War II, a lot of the distilleries that reopened up were forced to make things like airplane fuel. And so people were kind of crying out for whiskey, but it was on a very limited supply. So in order to get any, the merchants would force you to purchase a large amount of rum, because they had plenty of rum. So in order to get 1 case of whiskey, he had to order 12 cases of rum. So it's just got loads of the stuff. Rum wasn't as popular back then. So to cure this, he put on a cocktail competition, getting all the local bartenders to mix with this abundance of rum that he had. And the winning drink was the Hurricane. So the name, the Hurricane, was actually inspired by the bar's password that it had during Prohibition, when it was a bit of a speakeasy, and it was kind of like the old secret knock, and the password was Storms Brewing. So the Hurricane comes from that. It's just a really cool story. The ingredients that won in the cocktail was 2 rums, dark and light, so kind of a lighter Spanish style rum and a more heavy kind of Jamaican style, blended with lime and passion fruit. So super simple, but highly quaffable concoction. And the Hurricane of Smokestack has been tinkered with for years and years and years. It now contains around 9 different ingredients. So they batch it into a grog, and then just mix the lime juice with it and the pineapple juice when they make it to order, just to speed up service, because otherwise you'd be grabbing 40 different things from the back bar. But yeah, the current recipe has got a whole mix of different ingredients, just all little bits been tweaked over the years. So there's a few different rums in there. Obviously, that's never going away. So they've got a Jamaican and Bajan style rum. So Jamaican rums generally are quite pungent, quite no messing around, full on, very, very tasty, really good to mix with in punches. And Bajan style rums, so rums from Barbados, tend to be a little bit richer and more-ish, I think, is a good. But they're really good at adding backbone to a cocktail as well. Like, they're really good at adding structure. So combining the two, you kind of get in, you're ticking all the boxes. And then there's a passion fruit syrup and a pomegranate syrup or grenadine that's added. So that's just injecting a load of that flavor. You've got some allspice liqueur, although sometimes called pimento. So that's got these big kind of Caribbean spices in there. And you've also got some falernum, which is originates in Barbados, and it's like a sweetened. It's a liqueur basically, but it's spiced with things like cloves and almonds. So it's really good for aromatics. Great for mixing with. A little bit of lime juice to balance out the sweetness, and then pineapple juice to make it lengthen so you don't fall over when you have one. Because they also put a little bit of overproof rum on top to do the fire with. Sorry, I couldn't deliver that to you guys if you're drinking that at home. But yeah, that's the Hurricane. So that's drink number 2. That's from Smokestack. Hopefully, we'll get to a point where dancing will be all right again, because it seems to have been an age, and I can't imagine not being on that top floor and not dancing to the DJs there. Really badly, I have no rhythm whatsoever, but a few Hurricanes and you can give it a go, right? All right. If you're making that one at home, guys, the Hurricane just gets served over ice. Perfectly fine. If you want to garnish it with anything, garnish it with some citrus, orange wedge will work perfectly fine, or a bit of lime. I wouldn't recommend setting things on fire at home necessarily. Definitely not. So we're going to slow things down a little bit with our third drink, which is an old-fashioned twist from the guys at the Watermark. So definitely one of the best cocktail bars in Leeds, if not the UK. And you'll stumble upon them if you go up across Belgrave Street, so top end of town. And it's a home bar concept turned into reality by 2 mates who just had a passion for fantastic drinks, great hospitality. But the idea of the Watermark started at their house, really. So they would hold these little kind of industry get-togethers called Watermark Sundays. And it was just a big hospitality hangout based in their kitchen. But this kitchen was like, so Darush and Philippos were housemates at the time. And the space in the kitchen, because they both worked in bars, was pretty much better stocked than most bars, to be honest. More economically sound as well. Everything had its place. And the only rule was, if you went to the Watermark Sundays, you had to bring a bottle of something decent to drink, and you had to do a little stint on the bar serving people on the bar. You had to serve people as well for a little bit at the very least, and put your time in. But it was great, and the reason it was called the Watermark is glasses just kept getting smashed every time. People make a batch of drinks, you try and fill up the dishwasher or the little side on the little draining side next to the sink, and things were just toppling over and smashing. So they kind of gave up on drying or polishing glasses, and would just hang everything up, and everything was like kind of covered in watermarks. And one of the guys there, a guy called Elliot, was just like, "Oh, you should call this bar the Watermark after the fact that you guys don't bother polishing anything," and the name just kind of stuck. So I always really like that story. So they used the Watermark as a concept for their pop-ups. So they did a few different ones up and down the country, and then they had a brief residence at Epicurus, which was the bar before Watermark, and then the boys finally got the opportunity to own their own place when Epicurus shut. So they were upstairs, and then they finally got to move downstairs and take over. So just the idea was all about bringing the idea of welcoming people into your home, into the bar, which is, that's what every great bar should be like. It should be all about hospitality and welcoming people. And that's the ethos that they've tried to carry forward. So, we're going to talk about one of their drinks now, which has had a couple of different names, but the recipe hasn't changed. So, since they started doing the pop-ups, they always had a drink on the menu called the Pirate's Toast. So it's an old-fashioned twist, but made with rum. And they kind of came up with played around with the recipe, got it to where they liked it, and it just hasn't changed. So they had a kind of a rotating menu when they first opened. So, they'd have a certain amount of drinks on, and then those drinks would go off and they'd come back maybe later. But despite whether that drink was on or off the menu, people just kept asking for it, just asking for it every time. And so they just gave up. Like, well, we'll just keep it on the menu. So they renamed it the Old Fashioned #2 because it's just that common. That it's as common as making a normal old fashioned. They just make heaps of them, and it's basically an old fashioned with a twist of using rum instead of whiskey. So it's the makeup of the drink still follows kind of a classic old fashioned structure. It just plays around with the character of an aged rum rather than a more traditional bourbon or rye that would be used in an old fashioned. So the full name of the old fashioned is Old Fashioned Whiskey Drink. So when cocktails were first a thing, you would just have whiskey cocktail or rum cocktail or a gin cocktail, and they all kind of followed the same formula. When Prohibition hit, the whiskey cocktail started being made with all sorts of stuff to cover up the fact that it didn't taste very good. So oranges and cherries and stuff like that. And there was a little bit of a mini kind of revolt against this amongst the drinkers that used to drink it with, nothing, no fruit in and no liqueurs or anything like that. So they started asking for it the old fashioned way. Started asking for this whiskey cocktail the old fashioned way, which basically meant, just whiskey, sugar, zest, and bitters. It also got the name because of the glass. You might have heard the old-fashioned glass as well, which was used during Prohibition. It needed a thicker bottom so you can muddle the fruit in. So those two things became synonymous with the name, and now we know the old-fashioned is how it is today. So like I said, these guys have done a cheeky little rum twist on it. The cocktail that you guys have got has been pre-diluted, so it's good to just pour over ice and enjoy. The cocktail itself is a mixture of rums. So they take a Bermudan dark rum, which is really super rich. It's got loads of kind of coffee and chocolatey notes, and they infuse it with overripe banana overnight. So it takes on a bit of that character, a bit of that kind of Moorishness. And in certain rums, you do get banana notes as well. So it just brings all that out. And then they blend that with two other rums, which is a rich Bayesian style and like a funky, punchy, full-strength Jamaican rum. So really on the nose, really strong. Like I said, Jamaican rums are known for that. They use a lot of wild fermentation, so you tend to get these quite big, bold flavors. Sweeten it with a little Demerara sugar syrup, and then the finishing touch is just a blend of orange, aromatic, and nut bitters. Stirred it down nice and slow, just the way you like it. So I think I'll make this one, actually. I've got time. Back to the world's smallest bar. Hey. So yeah, they have a blend of rums, which I've blue peated right here. So the smell straight away is just in the air. I mean, my kitchen smelled amazing when I was trying out the banana infusion. Really, really pungent. Some Demerara sugar syrup. And then a blend of bitters. So we've got some aromatic, some orange. Bitters are like the seasoning of a cocktail is the best way of thinking about them. It's like just like you might need a pinch of salt in something. You can add bitters to a cocktail to kind of help all the flavors come together and really synergize is the word I'm going to use because it makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about. Going to stir it with some ice. Now, I've omitted the nut bitters because I'm allergic to them, so I didn't think you'd want to see that live. Maybe some of you do, sickos, but yeah. So a bit of ice in there. Give it a wee stir. Lovely. And as soon as you start stirring this drink, all the aromas start to kind of float out. And you've got all the aromatics, the rum melding together, the richness of the Demerara sugar. the old fashioned is one of the oldest drinks around. So simple, and yet people love them. And I think a cocktail like this will always just pay homage to whatever you're mixing with. You're not covering anything up. Yeah, so like if I just put that together without stirring it, it would have been pretty pokey. But now it's had a little bit of dilution. Like I said, if you're making it at home, it's already been diluted, so you could just pour it straight over ice to enjoy. Little rule of thumb: if you want to make any bottled old fashions, you can just add about 20% of the total volume in still water and bang it in the fridge, and then you I mean, nothing looks cooler than turning up to a party with a bottled cocktail that you made. It's a good flex. Well, I hope it is anyway, because I've been doing it. Yeah, gonna bang this over ice. Just like so. If you want to garnish it at home, I'd just go with a traditional orange zest. Anything just twisted over the top, or you can just leave it naked, like this guy. I mean, it's as complex and has got as much going on as if you were drinking any normal old-fashioned. I think there's this preconception about rum being just for daiquiris and mojitos and things like that, but there's plenty of aged rums out there that have many layers of complexity to them, and also rum's a lot cheaper, so that always gets my vote. So that was the old-fashioned number 2. It's from Watermark. Nice and rich. Definitely a sipper. And those guys have been open since we could open outside. We're looking forward to going inside the bar again. They also do an extremely good pint of Guinness, which, is always kind of high up on my list when it's kind of thing I order when I'm not sure what to have yet. Guinness, it gives me time to browse through the cocktail menu. So really looking forward to seeing those guys again, banging out some great drinks. Okay, so I wanted to, for the last venue, for the last bit of the tour, is just talk about, the newest bar in Leeds, I suppose. They've had a difficult run of it so far, and it's a bar called Grindhouse on New Briggate. So you might remember there was a shop there called Wine Rack, and before that it was called Jerry's. Well, now there's a bar there, so just next door to North Bar. And it was supposed to open last year, obviously. Hand of God and that had a slightly different plan for it. So this is from the bar's been built from scratch. Like I said, it was a shop before, so it was never kitted out to be a bar. But it's been created by the guy who owns Santiago's, David Holmes, and Paul Hanley, who's ex-Mojo bartender. And after, I want to say, a typical late night at Santiago's, they were having a discussion about opening up a venue together, and they both, without discussing it necessarily, had the same idea for a movie-inspired venue. So a venue that was somehow themed in a way, and had kind of cinema at the heart of it. So they weren't quite sure what that would look like, or what the main inspiration, what the kind of nitty-gritty of it would be. They just knew films, so they went through all their favorite films, all their favorite characters, everything they could think of, and wrote down as many names as possible. So they had a list of 200 names. It's kind of like coming up with a band name, really. It's a very, very hard part of the process. And after 200 names, they settled on Grindhouse. And Grindhouse is a subgenre of cinema. a rather ridiculous subgenre of cinema. Like there's quite a lot of kind of B movie and like really badly dubbed kung fu movies. But some of you might remember the Planet Terror and Death Proof films that came out not that long ago. They were very much a remake of that style of cinema. So a lot of cars and bikes and girls and just like violence, gratuitous violence and zombies and things like that. So it's just like ever so slightly ridiculous, but still fun. And that kind of resonated with them quite a lot. So they wanted to base it around this. So they got the keys for that venue February last year. Yeah, so about a month before everything kind of went downhill, and started working it with the aim of being open in August. So obviously the pandemic meant that plans just kind of came to a grinding halt, but it did give them time to really work on the venue and start really putting the time in, because there was no need to rush anymore. But yeah, they've done everything from scratch. All the electrics and everything is. It was not the easiest of openings, it has to be said, but they've already started slinging really quality drinks out, no nonsense drinks. Just because they the first time they opened was with outdoor service. Everything kind of had to be based around that. So I'm excited to finally kind of go and look inside. Kind of had a few peeks, and it looks really, really cool. But obviously, serving cocktails outside in the British summertime will always have its challenges, and so they've just kind of gone big and bold with this first menu. It's all big blended drinks, strong flavors, things like frozen espresso martinis blended up. But the one that I've picked off their menu is their apricot margarita. I just think it's super refreshing, really, really delicious. So they blend a Blanco tequila, so some, not to be confused with like a silver tequila, but a Blanco is a unaged generally tequila, so it's quite fresh. A lot of the agave notes come through. It's agave being the plant that is used to make tequila. So it's got a real fresh vegetal note to it, and then they make a apricot syrup and also an apricot puree, and blend those two together. So you kind of got the sweetness, but also the texture. Because if you're doing blended drinks, you need to have enough texture to hold it together. And then some orange bitters. Like I said, bitters is kind of like the salt of the cocktails, really, and some lime to balance it all out. And it's just super refreshing, lip smackingly. So just as a margarita should, just in a big old red cup, slice of orange in. So if you're having margarita at home, guys, again, it can be served what I would call Tommy style, so over ice in a rocks glass rather than in a stem like I had the espresso martini. Have it over ice, put a slice of lime in there or a slice of orange, keep it dead simple. Those kind of notes are going to flavor it and come through. All right, let me just check if there's any comments before I go on. That's good. So those are the 4 bars. I've kind of picked them all. They're all quite different. Roland's is early doors, easy drinking, and then you've got places like Smokestack, which is big rum punches and great for dancing in. Walmart is slightly on the stronger side, great for late evenings again, and then the Grindhouse, which we'll see what that's going to turn into. But they're going to be very much a daytime venue, and they're going to have more of a kind of cafe culture during the day. So I'm really excited about what the food's going to be as well. So feel free to check out any of those bars. They're all favourites of mine. There's plenty to go out in Leeds. It was hard to narrow it down to 4, but they're the 4 that I've gone with. Great drinks, and that's about it, guys. So unless there's any more comments, I'm going to bring it to a close. So my name, if you're just tuning in, my name's Lee Jones. I'm the creative director for Rolling Social Events. We've got loads of stuff coming up, mainly digital at the moment, but hoping to go and have some events in person by the end of July. So if you want to check it out, just go to our website, rollingsocialevents.com, and that will be about it. Continue to watch the stuff on Digital Food Week. I'm hoping that this is going to become a permanent thing, because it's really great to see all the showcase. And then that's it, guys. So I'll say cheers and see you later. Have a good week.